of Luzira Maximum Security Prison. 3. Interacted with Colonel Retired Dr. Kiiza Besigye and Haji Obeid Lutale Kamolegya. 4. Held meetings with the Honorable the Attorney General, the Uganda Prisons, and the Uganda Prisons Service. 5. Received written submissions from the Uganda Human Rights Commission. And 6. Reviewed the standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners. Findings. This section of the report presents the findings of the committee through the aforementioned methodology. 4.1, visit to Luzira Maximum Security Prison to assess the physical conditions of the prison. The committee visited the prison and interacted with the prisoners who raised the following issues. 4.1.1, Dr. Kiiza Besigye's personal issues in prison. Colonel Retired Dr. Kiiza Besigye informed the committee that he feels safer in Luzira prison compared to other detention facilities. He commended the prison authorities for their professionalism and for ensuring that inmates' rights are upheld and protected. He also had added that the prison doctors visit him on a daily basis and is allowed to see his personal doctor whenever the need arises. Dr. Kiiza Besigye noted that he has access to adequate food with 3 authorized suppliers providing his needs. Similarly, his co-accused Haji Obeid Lutale has 3 authorized suppliers providing his food. They cook their own meals for security reasons. It should be noted that whereas the Uganda Prison Service provides 3 meals a day for other prisoners, Dr. Kiiza Besigye informed the committee that he refused to eat the food provided by the prison for fear of being poisoned. He acknowledged significant improvements in the prison conditions over the years. Systems have been computerized and the facility is better maintained than it used to be. He further confirmed that there had been a remarkable improvement between 2016 and the present day, with the prison currently fitted with running water, waterborne toilets, the abolition of the bucket system in Luzira Maximum Security Prison, and a fresh coat of paint had been applied to the walls, which were all commendable developments. Dr. Besigye, however, highlighted some personal concerns. Number 1, he is detained in a highly restricted section, which he described as a prison within a prison, requiring passage through 5 gates to reach his cell. He expressed fear for his safety, particularly as he is held alone in a cell with a toilet, a shower within the northern wing, which accommodates a total of 18 prisoners. Number 2, he shared concerns about unexplained late-night activities in the prison, such as padlocks being opened and closed without anyone entering his cell. He fears being poisoned or harmed in such environment. Roman 3, Dr. Besigye lamented that he is not allowed to interact with fellow inmates, and the rules applied to him are more restrictive than those applied to other prisoners. Roman 4, he is not allowed to attend prayers with other inmates in the prayer houses within the prison. Part 5.0 deals with the observations and the recommendations of the committee. one, food for prisoners. The committee observed that the food provided by Uganda Prison Service to the prisoners lacks variety and does not meet the minimum standards of a balanced diet as provided for in the law on account of the limited budgetary provisions. To mitigate this, the Commissioner General informed the committee that Uganda Prison Service allows inmates access to their own non-cooked food supplies from external sources. Committee recommends that government should provide adequate funding to the Uganda Prison Service to exploit the prison farms for purposes of producing food crops for the provision of nutrition to prisoners. Conditions of detention. The committee observed that interventions have been instituted to improve the living conditions of prisoners in Luzira Maximum Security Prison, as confirmed by Colonel retired Dr. Kiiza Besigye, who stated that there had been remarkable improvements. The reports of running water, waterborne toilets, the abolition of the bucket system in Luzira Maximum Prison, and the fresh court are commendable. The committee recommends that the bucket system, as far as possible, should be eliminated from all facilities in the country. Government should increase funding to the Uganda Prison Service to facilitate the construction of waterborne facilities in all prisons in the country. Congestion. The committee noted that the rate of occupancy of Luzira Maximum Security Prison exceeds 500% since the facility was designed to hold 600 prisoners but currently holds 3,292 inmates. The committee recommends that government should prioritize setting up new prison facilities or expanding the existing ones to address the issue of congestion. The committee also recommends that government should take practical steps through the judiciary to urgently address the issue of case backlog. Separation and classification. The committee noted that the current incarceration of convicts, the condemned, and prisoners on demand in the same facility results in prisoners on remand who should be presumed innocent until proved guilty being treated as convicts, whereas, as much as possible, their rights should not be severely curtailed to the same extent. The committee recommends that the three categories of prisoners should be housed in different prison facilities to ensure that the rights of prisoners on remand are not abused since they are innocent until proved guilty. Prolonged pre-trial detention. The committee observed that pre-trial detention periods in Uganda range from days to decades, with some cases taking as long as 28 years in the judicial system without resolution. It's well elaborated that justice delayed is simply justice denied. Notably, some of these cases are awaiting ministers' orders as they have an element of mental illness. The committee recommends that the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs should take appropriate measures to address impediments to access to justice. Right Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, the committee appreciates the contributions of the Uganda Prison Service, the Honorable, the Attorney General, the Uganda Human Rights Commission, and the members of the committee who turned up in large numbers to attend to this very important function. The committee prays that this report is considered and the recommendations therein adopted. I beg to move. Right Honorable Speaker, as I stated, 4 of our colleagues exercised their rights under Rule 205 of the Rules of Procedure to author a minority report stating 3 areas of dissent. With your permission, may I invite the Honorable Jonathan Odur to present the minority report.
Honorable Jonathan.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The first area of dissent is the safety of Dr. Kiiza Besigye, known as Uganda Remand 1867 of 2024, fear of being killed in prison. The committee was informed by Dr. Besigye that he is in fear of being killed in prison through poisoning. His biggest fear is that the state, being the complainant in his case, the persecutor, and has the command and control of the Uganda prisons, puts him in danger. This fact, the Commissioner General of Prisons confirmed knowledge of the fears of Dr. Besigye and stated that it has put the prisons authorities in a precarious situation, having a prisoner under them who fears being killed by them. The second area of dissent is the opening of the 2 out of the 4 security locks to access Uganda Remand 1867 of 2024, retired Colonel Dr. Kiiza Besigye, who informed the committee of an incident where deep in the night, to be exact after midnight, 2 of the 4 doors were opened. This scared him into shouting loudly, and the people opening retreated. He sought an explanation, and 3 different versions of events were told to him. The first, that there were some items forgotten within his detention facility. Secondly, he was told that the opening of the doors were because some padlocks had not been locked, so they had returned to lock it. And the third explanation was that it is routine inspection by the prison authorities to come into the night and inspect whether the prisoners are inside. This made him fear that the contradiction was not justified. Point number 3 of dissent is the solitary confinement of Uganda Remand 1867 of 2024. It was the submission of retired Colonel Dr. Kiiza Besigye that he was being detained alone and is not allowed to interact with other prisoners, including attending prayers on Sunday with the rest of the prisoners. This is contrary to Section 57C of the Prisons Act 206. The Commissioner General of Prisons informed the committee that the isolation of retired Colonel Dr. Kiiza Besigye is first for his own safety, but also because Dr. Kiiza Besigye has the capacity to excite the prisoners, which might spiral out of control. The Uganda Human Rights Commission, in its written submission to the committee, noted that solitary confinement, when used excessively under harsh conditions, can be considered a violation of human rights due to its detrimental effects on the mental health and well-being of a person. In fact, Dr. Kiiza Besigye complained of being in a difficult mental health situation which cannot be handled by the medical personnel at Luzira prison. Point of dissent number 4 is confiscation of the Christmas greetings to Ugandans. Uganda Remand 1867, Dr. Kiiza Besigye wrote a Christmas greetings and message to Ugandans, and it was confiscated for having 2 words, freedom and justice. There was no plausible justification by the prison authorities for detaining a message, confiscating it, and eventually sentencing that message to death, and the execution of the message was done. Point number 5, which is the last in dissent, is the denial of the advocates, denial of access to advocates to Dr. Kiiza Besigye. The committee learned that Council Lukwago areas advocate to retired Colonel Dr. Kiiza Besigye was denied access to his client on a critical day when the court-martial was sitting the next day. The lawyers had papers, applications, and affidavits that needed the signature of the accused persons. The Commissioner General informed the committee that he denied the lawyer Lukwago areas access to Dr. Kiiza Besigye, since that same day there were members of parliament who were visiting Dr. Besigye, and he could not allow both the lawyer and the MPs to access him. Our recommendations. The minority recommends that Parliament takes keen interest into the fears of retired Colonel Dr. Kiiza Besigye of being killed in prison by poison. 2, the minority recommends that the trial of retired Colonel Kiiza Besigye and subsequent detention in Luzira prison be terminated, and any trial be held under the civilian authorities. I beg to report, this report is signed by Honorable Nyeko Derek, Honorable Nabagabe Kalule Flavia, Honorable Zake Francis, and myself. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Jonathan. Thank you. Honorable colleagues, we've received the 2 reports. Members of the committee are constrained to debate the same. So I'm just going to allow me, because these are our findings, we shouldn't take, okay, that long. So I'll start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I'm picking you, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I've picked you. You follow yourselves in that order.
Thank you. Right.
Okay. What we do, I hope Clerk has helped me to note, we can mix. Okay? Yes, let's try to mix.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'd like to thank the Chair for the report and for some of the good recommendations. I know this report is only not concerning Luzira. Some of the things he has mentioned are happening even elsewhere. And I know the committee has even ever moved to other prisons and saw what is happening there. So some of the recommendations should be taken up for action, but most commonly, the congestion is almost everywhere in all the prisons in the country. Then secondly, the prolonged pre-trial detention. Even in the Attorney General, I think had already mentioned about it. So it's a very, very big concern that prisoners stay long when they are not tried, and also that contributes to the congestion. So I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, on these issues, I saw the reaction. There is a matter which has been settled, okay, from what I see, because the majority report touched it and the minority report didn't didn't disagree. There had been perceived a situation that Besigye is denied food. I think that's a settled matter now. He appointed 3 people who can take for him non-cooked food. If you are not among those 3, because the public should know, because you know they can go to Luzira carrying food and all that. If you are not among those 3 who were nominated by Besigye, your food won't be allowed in. And the same applies to Mr. Haji Obed Kamrege. I think that's a settled matter. Honorable Jonathan, on that? Because I wanted us to shape our issues very well. We know the issues which were raised here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to confirm that position, that any member of the public that would like to support Dr. Besigye is free as long as the food goes through those three.
Okay.
Because, as you know, once you're in prison, you are limited and support is required. So it is not like the rest should not. But
Okay.
it should also be on the record initially
Yeah.
that the main point that was raised here was that Dr. Besigye